Hi, I'm Rebecca M. Zornow. I'm a science fiction author and a speculative fiction book coach with Conquer Books. My debut novel, It's Over or It's Eaten, came out last fall. And this video series is just about what I do every month as an indie author with some topics thrown in along the way. So this month we're talking about how to get your indie books into bookstores. But first we're going to talk about what did I do this month. So this month was really focused on things outside of my actual upcoming book. I did send a cover brief to my cover designer, so things like themes to pull through, certain comp covers that are highly related, the specs and the size and everything. I had an editor fine-tune my blurb in preparation for getting that blurb on the jacket. I did my author blog posts and newsletters, so kind of keeping things rolling and connecting. I'm submitting a short story every month, so I did that. This month I'm doing TikToks daily. I know all about book talk and like how it can, really bring a lot of energy to your readership, but I'm kind of figuring out like what's the best routine for me. I've had a few videos get above average views over the month, but I think that that's just a fluke of, if I had just kept doing videos, eventually those things happen. So I think in general, like my random 2 videos a week is where I'll settle, but this is kind of an experiment and to get a backlog of videos so that when people come to my page, I don't, seem like a newbie. But really this month has been focused on tons of communications with bookstores. So this will be great for our topic today. I have 2 signings set up. I have 2 new locations that I'm selling this book at. As an indie author, I'm responsible for getting my book into places and thinking through my strategy. So let's get right into the topic. How to get your indie books in bookstores. So first, I think it's really important to consider the perspective of the bookstores that you have in mind. If you're thinking of large chains, if you're thinking of indie bookstores, presumably with whatever format or platform you publish your book, you will be getting onto Amazon or onto, online bookstores. So we're talking more about how to get, that big dream everybody has where they walk in a bookstore and you see your book there. We're talking about that experience. And it's really important to consider what is the perspective of those bookstores. If you don't have an existing relationship with them, what makes you stand out to them as opposed to any of the other dozens of authors they might hear from in a week. So really thinking through how you can help them and thinking through, do you fit the niche of readers that they are supporting? What would make them refer your book to one of their clients? Doing some research on the bookstores before you ask to make sure it's a good fit. And then also considering who their competition is. Amazon. Amazon has put a lot of bookstores out of business. And so I think it's okay to have your book on Amazon, have an existing professional relationship with Amazon, but know that an independent bookstore is not going to want to order books from Amazon, their biggest competitor, and consider the quality that they're looking for, that it has a proper ISBN number, that it's easy to shelve, that it meets their expectations. If you are just getting started talking to local bookstores or, the indie bookstore, even in another state. But if you're just getting started with that process, I recommend going to some stores, really perusing your genre section, considering what would make it easy for them to say yes to you. One of those things that makes it easy is having your books returnable, either through a commission arrangement with a bookstore where they, give you a certain percentage of the book when it sells, or working with something like Ingram Spark where they can order the book, get a wholesale discount, return the books if they don't sell. And that is a business decision that you need to consider carefully, because you could get in the position of having a lot of books ordered and then having things returned. So it's worth sitting down, looking at your numbers, thinking of your strategy, thinking of your tolerance for risk as well. I do think that you can think outside of the box as well. It's not just bookstores. If you're thinking of places to hold signings and make book sales, why not a cafe or, a very busy workplace that does programs for their employees if there's especially like a clear connection for why they might, be interested in your specific novel. Thinking of bookstores that you may not have heard of before, do some research. I recommend typing in your ISBN number, see who might be carrying it already in like their e-store, asking if they'll consider carrying a few physical copies. But when you do that ask, put together first a sales sheet, a sheet that has the cover really crisp and clear, blurb, your bio, the specs for the book, so like the pricing, how they can get the book, is it returnable, like when was it published, what's the ISBN number, putting as much information on that sales sheet so that they can get a clear picture all at once. And, part of this is you're going to have places say no, and that's not necessarily saying anything about you. It's saying that, hey, this wasn't a clear place where we could meet. We're just not dealing with the same client base, perhaps. Respecting their timeline, and respecting your own timeline, reaching out far enough in advance. If you're hoping to have books by a certain launch, give them the respect and understand that they have their own processes and reach out to them early. Be nice in general, of course. And then if you're trying to make a compelling case, consider who their friends are, not their friends that they hang out with, but who are the businesses or the organizations that could persuade them. If you have recently gotten a placement in a newspaper in a certain area, reach out to the bookstore in that community as opposed to a random bookstore in, a different community. Try and think through if you have anything in your roster or your backlist of connections that you can make. I feel like connecting and showing and demonstrating that you understand them and you respect like their position within the community they're in makes a big difference as well. And then finally, consider what you really want and what success is. We talk about that a lot in the indie world because success looks different to different people. And I know people scoff at that at first because it's like, well, money and, prestige and lots of press, that's success to everybody. Well, but thinking about what you're really after at this stage, like today in your career, what does success look like? And perhaps that isn't, 50 copies of your book on the bookshelf. If you haven't developed the readership, that might just result in expensive returns to you or in disappointing the bookstore. Perhaps success looks like, hey, my, book is in print and ebook from, Barnes & Noble and Amazon, and then you can get my book from Target, online. It's really hard getting into big bookstores like that. But, thinking through like, what can I do today that meets my standard of success, and acknowledge that sometimes those, great dreams of success, if they come too early, they can actually hinder your progress if you're not ready for them. So be realistic and really think through your strategy. What's next for me is in just a couple days, I'm going on a writing retreat with Write on Door County, which I've been looking forward to for a long time. So I'm going to be focusing on developmental edits for my upcoming book, doing some moving that process into line edits. I really plan on just doing like a lot of editing, like really taking this story from a manuscript to the book phase. I also have a couple of odds and ends to do this month. I have to book the copy editor so we make sure it's all proper. I have to start building. What does this say? Oh, right. I'm going to try something new. I would like to get blurbs on the cover of my next book, where it says like, wow, this was so amazing by, hey, your friendly neighborhood author or whatever, or on the back or on the jacket of the hardcover. So I have a couple of people in mind. I'm going to start building the package for them, reaching out, and then having like the book ready for them to be able to read it if they so choose to. And then finally, I have a book signing this month, and I'm dropping off some books at a bookstore because that's what it's all about. Bye.